Hi everyone, today we did finally get that true breakout here. You can see the push through, the retest, the continuation towards that 604.54 level. You can see we're continuing to stay pretty much overbought, but nice volume on the push today. Everything looks bullish once again, but let's take a look at all of the charts as we head into that CPI data read for the Wednesday. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. In news today, we got Secretary Bessent leaving London. We still do not have that UK deal all the way locked in. That was the deal they were touting, and it hasn't been all the way locked in, which is unfortunate. And then you can see they're also referencing the China trade talks, which they are saying is continuing to have good progress, continuing to negotiate with Beijing. Markets like this a little bit. We did hear a little bit of news during the session. And like I said, markets did move a little bit higher on that. They said they're trying to finish by Tuesday evening. Talks have been productive. Everything says this is good for markets. But the concern for me here is that we really haven't seen anything locked in, and we are getting closer and closer to that reversal back to those reciprocal tariffs or equivalent tariffs, however you want to think about them. That date is coming up pretty soon, and we haven't seen anything come through on that. Are they just going to delay them again because talks are happening? Absolutely possible, but we have not seen anything concrete as of yet. Moving over to fear and greed, we did get to a 64 from a 62, so we did see a slight step up here. This continues to rally. Still in fear though. Strength, no movement on strength. Interesting to see that. Breadth starting to curl back up. Extreme greed there. Want to see what that looks like on the later breadth charts. Put call ratio turning back down. Interesting volatility in that same range that we've been in. Still hasn't touched that trend line that we were talking about in yesterday's video. And then safe haven demand continues to pull back. Bonds and stocks moving a little higher today together, which is good. And then safe haven demand starting to turn a little bit higher here over the last couple days. Moving over to seasonality, just a reminder here, it's a little bit choppy early in the June period. We're kind of peak here. Are we going to get a little bit more push before we see this kind of fall into the mid-month, end of month time frame? This is relatively bearish. After today, we have not seen that kind of follow through yet. Maybe CPI is a bit of a trigger for that, but just keep in mind this is kind of the turning point yesterday and today. Moving over to the economic calendar, basically nothing for today. 3-year note auction was a little bit higher than the previous read, but for tomorrow, CPI data, that is the big one, of course. 10-year note auction also in there tomorrow. That could be interesting. PPI for the Thursday, as well as initial jobless claims. That's ticked up just a smidgen. You can see previous number, 247, 241 is the expectation. Maybe that could be interesting. And then just circling back here to CPI, understand that these numbers are a little bit higher than the previous read, and it'll be interesting to see if we come in worse than expectations. Moving over to the charts, looking at the S&Ps, you can see it was a clean move up here today. We were right at the trend line 2 days in a row, and then we got the continuation here, 0.5% headed towards that 604.54 level. We are unchanged after hours. Kind of moved around a little bit here. You can see wicks in both directions. Maybe there was a little bit of news here, but holding unchanged in the after hours, still looking at 604.50. Above that, you got 610.68, which would be all-time highs. Can we actually justify new all-time highs here on the SPY charts? I think it's a tough ask. We really didn't have a great earnings. We didn't see a ton of growth. There's not really increasing earnings necessarily. We are at really high valuations, and we'll definitely take a look at some of that in a little bit, but right now that is the move. On a technical basis, it seems like that is where we're going before this is all said and done. You also have a trend line above here at 616, 617, which could be interesting over the next couple days. Moving over to the Tasty charts, you can see we got up to that second ATR band here on the hourly. That was 603.09. Next level 604.36, which is pretty much in line with that next level that we talked about already. So that seems like where we are set to go. You can see the volume coming through on that bullish candle. End of the session, you would expect continuation off of that, which for me means we're probably going to get a light CPI read. And then looking at that 4-hour chart, just continues to grind on that 8 EMA. We talked about it holding yesterday, held again here today, pushing to the second ATR band, which is in basically the same level. And then 606.42 is that 4-hour ATR band. Still bullish conditions, continues to go to the bull side. Moving over to the NASDAQ, similar thesis to the SPY charts, broke above this structure here. Still watching this as a potential rising wedge, and when we do get that rising wedge, oftentimes you'll see a pretty aggressive breakout to the upside. It'll fade, and then we'll see it cut through that structure here to the bear side. So for now, it still seems like we're in this kind of bullish phase. Are we going to get above this high, take out all the stops, and then you see this fade and then a breakdown? Obviously, that is not what we have for now. Right now, you have the breakout continuation after hours moving a little bit higher here on the NASDAQ. Again, throwing wicks in both directions, touching that trend line and bouncing a little bit, kind of choppy in the after hours. But your next level is that 538.28 level, which is right at your all-time highs, just off of it, which does seem like the next target. RSI pretty much overbought again already. Clear divergence here, higher prices like we talked about, but a lower RSI read. Is that going to affect markets in the medium term? I would say it probably will, but in the short term, we continue to rally here. And then moving over here to the Tasty charts for the NASDAQ, you can see I did end up buying shares back again here on that break higher, back above all of these levels, looking for that second ATR band. That's going to be 536.04, and then that third ATR band is in play, 539.17 here on the 4-hour chart. And then you can see it here on the hourly. We're right at that second ATR band already. Do we go a little bit higher to that next level? I think that's in play as well. Pretty much in line with the 4-hour chart. But right here, it's at 535.96. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, these continue to do exactly what we thought they would. We saw the Russell breakout here, clean through this top, and we've seen a run over the last 3 days. Continues to look good there. After hours continues to look strong, probably headed towards that 200 at 215.89, and then we'll see what happens after that. In the after hours are above the 214.79 level, and then the next level for me above this kind of zone of resistance here would be that 218.13 level, and then you have the Dow was bullish on the day, didn't quite get above the wicks from the last 2 days. Momentum slightly bullish, RSI slightly bullish. Target still the same here at 432.78. Moving over to the Mag 7, we did get that Mag 7 continuation. You can see we pulled back, tested the level at 315.03, continued higher, up over 1%. This is part of why I did flip back to bullish here today. I think we could go back to these all-time highs, back to this kind of trend line in here around 336, which would take you very, very close to these all-time highs back here from January, February. If we did get there, it'll be interesting to see if markets start to show a little bit of rejection. You can see still clear divergence on the structure. Peak RSI was back here on 14 May. We're at higher prices now, but at a lower RSI read, so something to consider. But structurally, we do seem to be gaining momentum back to the upside. Highly traded zone here as well at 325 to 326. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft. Apple continues to be dead money, stuck in this same trading range, doesn't seem to be going anywhere. The momentum is slightly bullish, but I wouldn't do anything with this. Still cannot seem to get above 204.62 or so, this kind of consolidation of EMAs. And then you got Microsoft actually down just a smidgen on the day, came back down, almost retested the level, ended up negative inside candle. Is that a reversal candle? Momentum back to bearish, RSI super overbought. Do we start to see this reverse just a little? Maybe. It's been a massive run, right? It's basically straight up since 1 May. For a month and a half, we've been going straight up on Microsoft, and it does seem like it's due at least for a little bit of a pullback. Moving over to Tesla, what a move. 5.67% here today. Absolutely massive. 4.5 back-to-back 5.6 days. And then you can see, it looks like we're headed towards that SMA on the RSI. Looks like we have a little bit more room, 1 to 2 more days like this to get to that SMA, and then we'll see if we get a lower high setup rejection style move from there. And then NVIDIA finally gaining a little bit of momentum here, closing up almost 1%, still headed towards that 149.65 level. Can't get below. As long as it continues to hold that 140.76 level, the target is 149. Moving over to Amazon and Alphabet. We haven't touched on these for a while, but they have really broken out over the last 2 days here. You can see Amazon had a nice move into the weekend. We talked about how this looked like it was accelerating, and it has. Clean moved here through to that 233 level is in play now. Clean break, good momentum. It is overbought again, so we're right in that overbought range. Does that mean anything in the short term? Maybe, maybe not. We're retesting the low back here from 13 January, continuing to watch this. And then looking at Alphabet, clean above 179.42. Also above that trend line. Do we get a little bit of a reversal here? We've been watching this structure for a long time, and now we are back out of it here. If this accelerates out, it could be pretty aggressive. The next level there would be 185.22. Above that, 193.31. Moving over to staples and discretionaries. Clear risk on move here today, and really over the last 2 days. Staples did go a little bit higher. Momentum still bearish there, but Look at this move here, momentum stepping to bullish, RSI back above the SMA, back above the level there, 215. I'm sure Tesla is a big driver of this, but you got Tesla and Amazon going higher, so that is a discretionary style move. Can we get above this kind of structure here? Can we get to that 216 level and hold, or are we going to retest this trend here and reject? A couple of scenarios to look for, but right now this looks quite strong. Moving over to bonds. Bonds had a good day. J&K up 0.22%, headed towards that 200. I think we're going to get above that here and head towards 96.50. TLT back above the level there, 85.90. We did close below it just by 2 pennies, but we're still in this range. Momentum slightly bullish, RSI still slightly bullish. Still like this here, and I continue to buy it, but either way, short term looks a little bullish to me, and of course the long term still very bullish. Moving over to the VIX. The VIX did pull back a little bit. Still want to see a touch of this trend line, which means potentially 1, maybe 2 more days before we get a touch of that. And then do we see a move like this where you get a big kind of move up? We had a very small move up here, but this downtrend to the level, and then as soon as we touched it, it was massive. Do we come down and touch it and see a nice spike up? Certainly in play, but hasn't happened yet. Moving over to my accounts, you can see, as I talked about, I did add those shares on here. Took a loss, obviously, on the call. Still sitting on those. We're still right at the break even. 535.50 is the area. But of course, there's a lot of loss right now, open loss on that call, which would come in potentially over the next couple of weeks, but we'll see. I just think we're probably going to go at least to that next level. And then the Russell, of course, continues to be very strong. Rolled that out, made money on that today. Continues to be a good trade to the upside. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of the negotiations. Will there actually be a concrete deal in the near future? And what did you think about the markets today? Does the breakout give you more bullish bias, or is this the fake out before the sell? Let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.